Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Well, I'm going to assume that you can. So let me start with some of the questions that are here in the chat to begin with. Um, what will you plant in the garden this spring? I have some jostaberries, aronia, strawberries, blueberries, a white mulberry tree, forsythia, a Japanese quince, a bay laurel, and a thornless Primark blackberry to be strung on a wire so I can contain it. Question number two about a cat. I do hope to get a cat, but I still have to wait until the cellier is secured. Because it has a sand floor, the kitty cat would just assume that was the best litter box ever. So I can't even use that room hardly until I get the floor redone. I understand that the Amazon wish list is showing unavailable or out of stock. So I will, at the end of the live, go and check that and make sure that it's up to date if I can find similar products. A question that I received in the post about the live was, is the landscape rolling hills? What is it like? And yes, it's very much rolling hills. The higher peaks are to the east of me. I'm on the northwestern edge of the Massif Central, and it's mostly granite underneath me, a batholith, and there's not much topsoil uh, on it. But it's not manicured like it is in the States. It's more textured. Think patchwork, fields, hedgerows, little forests, winding lanes. It feels older, less designed, and more like the land has simply been lived on for millennia. There will be a video coming out next, in a couple of weeks or so about the local history going back before, basically to the time of Julius Caesar. I think you'll find it very interesting. And Clugnet, being smack dab in the middle of France, was actually named for a Roman who actually came in after the Battle of Alesia and was the landowner here in the village. So that should be interesting coming up. Another question from the post was things I have received, like the juicer. What about them? And let me say, I have received many things, not only things to review, and you'll notice I haven't done very many because some of the things that I have received are not things that I use. Therefore, I won't review them for you. But I want to tell you, you wonderful people who view and watch my channel, that you are absolutely amazing. You are the most generous of people, and you are the bee's knees when it comes to thoughtfulness. Thank you. Another one, is YouTube changing your life? It has brought me many friends I never, ever would have crossed paths with except for YouTube. Um, in different countries, in different languages, old, young, um, mostly old. I seem to appeal to little old ladies just like me, although there are some sweet little old men too. But all of you, regardless of where you come from, are absolutely dear to my heart. Have I had time or occasion to use my Elna sewing machine that I brought from the States? Yes, I have used it a little bit, and I'm anxious to use it more. There's a couple of quilts that will be wall hangings that I would really like to get to decorate my bedroom. And so I'm going to use the dressing room off of the bedroom. I had planned originally to make it an office, but I'm going to turn it into a dedicated sewing room and with a couple of small chairs and a table in the window so that I can drink coffee in the morning and watch the sun come up. What is the weather like this time of year? Well, the weather has been unusual and cold and wet, and one day it will be almost 80 degrees and absolutely gorgeous and sunshiny, and then 3 or 4 days of rain and mist and cold and just no way can you go out there. It's too cold and wet to plant anything much yet, other than the bushes and things that appreciate that kind of weather. But no seeds or tender plants yet, not until the last frost, and that's usually the second week of May. So it's going to be a while before I get to that. Do you know if any of the houses I highlighted in my real estate video have sold yet? Actually, the house next door to me to the north, the one for 130 something euros, 30,000 euros, is being looked at by a real estate developer, believe it or not, from the States. They are acquiring properties all over France, evidently, and other places for their portfolio of, I don't know what kind of portfolio, but they are looking at the house currently. So, yes, um, that possibility exists. And the house that sold across the street during the winter, bought by an American, we haven't seen him or her yet, but there were workers there again this week. So I'm ever anxious to meet him or her soon. Are there products that are hard to find here in France that I would have brought along had I known ahead of time? And one of the questions was about Benadryl or another type of drug. I don't use any over-the-counter medicines other than baby aspirin, so I never even, that never crossed my mind. I will tell you that finding a bottle of Leon Perrin's Worcestershire sauce or a functional hand pastry blender has been exceedingly difficult. Um, Actually, one of my guardian angels, Leslie from San Francisco, who was here in January, brought me an empty bottle of Leon Perrins because I was able to find jugs of refill for like restaurant service, but not a small bottle that I could use in a video or use on the table. So I'm waiting to fill that particular empty bottle of Leon Perrins Worcestershire sauce, and you will see that in some upcoming videos. A friend, is your American pension deposited into a French account, and is it classified as taxable income by the French? I have my American Social Security check deposited into my American bank in Idaho, and then I transfer a certain portion of those funds via Wise uh, Bank out of, I believe they're in Belgium, into my French account. And uh, that seems to be the cheapest way. Doing it through PayPal doesn't work. There's more fees attached to that mode of transfer, but it is possible to fill out a form and take it or send it to the American Embassy in Paris and transfer my social, U.S. Social Security totally into a French bank. But I still have some accounts that are paid out of that American account. So right now, it's just working easily for me to do it that way. If and when it ever gets onerous as far as how much transfer fees are, then I may consider changing it. Another question. If you have electricity for cooking and your computer, why do you not have an electric heater in your home to take the edge off the winter chill? Well, let me tell you, I do not believe in wasting money, and if I were to use an electric heater, it would be like lighting euros or dollar bills and smoking them. So no, I don't. I would rather bundle up, put on extra shawls, put a blanket over my lap, whatever's required to stay warm during the winter, because no, I will not pay. You would not believe the cobwebs that hang from some of the ceilings, and they're blowing in the wind all the time, day and night. Even when the sun is 80 degrees outside and there's no wind, there's breezes through the house. Electric is expensive in France, and it would be, I consider, wasteful and foolish to do that. Um, I haven't frozen. I haven't had a cold. I'm fine. The only reason I haven't been warmer is because I neglected to get the services of a chimney sweep in to check my chimney before I lighted a fire, and it's against the law to do that in France. And if anything were to happen, my insurance, which I do pay, would not pay for any damage. So I would prefer to be cold and have money in my pocket. Not much, but a lot more than I would have if I did that. I do have an electric heater in the bathroom, and I can shut the door and I can get that room warm before I take a shower, and I can turn it off. So, yes, I do have an electric heater for the bathroom, but it's only on when I take a shower. Have I practiced flying my drone? Nope, not yet. It's been too cold and windy and rainy, and I'm petrified to think of what would happen if I sent it up and it wouldn't come back. So until the ground is dry enough and not wet during the middle of the day when I could either go over to the school field or they have a football pitch, um, open place that I could fly it, but the ground has just been too wet, soggy, and I haven't done it yet, but that is on the list. How is my garden coming along? Well, not many things have been planted yet. Um, the nettles are growing wonderfully again, of course, and there will be a video coming about making something out of the nettles because the spring growth is wonderful. But my electric robot mower is getting ready to go out and mow it all down so that I can determine what, where, and begin making paths and raised beds. So that is, but it has to get, the ground has to dry out a little bit first, and it hasn't yet so far. Can you show us a video of what renovations they did for you? And yes, a video is coming probably at the end of this week or the beginning of next week. Um, I haven't there are still so many things piled in front of what they actually did, and when they finished, they basically left me all kinds of building materials that had been planned to be used but hadn't been used yet. So I it's like walking into a hardware store. I was in that room today, and you wouldn't believe the stuff that's in those sacks to be used. I mean, I could almost open a hardware store with the duplicates that were left. So I need to go through and fix some of that and maybe trade to cement. There's a gentleman across the street. There's the Dutch farmer that I know. There's several people that I could trade some of that stuff that I will not use or need for the house that they could help me with different things. Okay. What are your future plans for the garden and cottage? Number 1, painting the walls and woodwork, but the woodwork I can do anytime, but the walls, because they are plaster, um, if it's too cold, the paint doesn't really adhere well, and if there's any repair that needs to be done before I actually put paint or show paint over uh, what's there, it has to be warm enough that everything will adhere and dry. Otherwise, it just takes weeks for everything to dry, and you can't do anything around it until it does. I also have plans to buy either a buffet, a douceur, which means a buffet with two parts, a top and a bottom, or a vaselier to store things in and for display. The beautiful Henry II walnut dessert, it's called, a dessert buffet, uh, doesn't hold it looks pretty and it holds some things, but not enough. I have enough things and some of the tools that I've bought that I need to have somewhere to put them away. So I plan to get, that particular type of dining room furniture, and it will face the front, and behind it will be another buffet a flatter buffet that has a marble top that I actually do washing the dishes on because of the marble top. I can also clean it off and make candy on it, pour candy, or I can use it for pastry. So I'm trying to make everything do double duty, and right now that's where the plans are. How are the neighbors' chickens and pooch getting along with the yard Roomba, my robot mower? Well, I haven't seen the rooster or the dog for several weeks, but I still hear them occasionally. I think there is someone who has moved into the apartment on the other side of my wall where the townhouse is attached, but I there are curtains in the window and I hear noises at odd times, but I really haven't seen anybody coming and going yet, so I'm not sure. And that may be why the rooster and the doggy haven't gotten through because it looks like either the city or that person, if there is one, has done something to block their access, which is wonderful in my book. Have I applied the tinted lime wash yet? I assume you're talking about the pink one that goes in the dressing room, and that's what I'm working on this week. Would you believe I couldn't find where I put my pink measuring tape that my retractable measuring tape? I can't find it. I don't know what I did with it, but I figured out that my level, which is about a meter long, will be long enough that I can actually stick it on the floor, lay it against the wall, put a piece of blue painter's tape for that mark, and then lay it and make marks and draw a line so I can paint the bottom. Then I can also work on painting the top white. The bedroom will have uh, a strip of pale beige lime wash around the bottom as if it had a dado as well. So those things are on tap to start this week. And one of the reasons for not even doing that painting yet is because, again, the walls have been so cold that the paint just doesn't dry. And then if you get up against it, you get it all over yourself, or you can't put the furniture back, or whatever. So I've just been waiting until it's warm enough consistently to do that. However, one day this last week, it was almost 80 degrees for 2 days in a row, sunshine like you wouldn't believe, and so both the dressing room and the bedroom had the doors open for, like, 6 hours, and I sat in front of them like I couldn't believe it, it was amazing. Okay, and, uh, another thing that's going on is that in the kitchen, there was a wall cupboard inserted into the wall at one time. Someone literally ripped it out of the wall, took the face frame around it that has the hinges, took the cupboard doors off, and I found the face frame with the hinges in the garage, and I found the cupboard doors with the key in the séjour when I first moved in. So, again, I'm waiting to make sure the wall is such that it will cure whatever lime wash or pointing I put in, and that particular cupboard will have to have the majority of every stone in it either completely gone around or removed and put back in and pointed. It is just in terrible shape. So that's gonna be a hard one, but that cupboard is desperately needed, to put away kitchen items, and I'm really hoping to get to that. I hoped to get that done before the 1st of June. Okay, let me those are the ones that have been submitted. Let me go back in and see what I can find here. Hello to everyone. Uh, Maria in Florida. Um, let's see. Cindy from, I'm not sure where Cindy's from, and Susan Benning. Rick Flood. Hello, hello. For the cellar floor, will you just add a membrane and Talmettes on top? Oh, my absolute dream. The floor in the dining room kitchen is 2 levels. the dining room part of it was at one time a shop many years ago. And so it has a poured concrete floor that looks has been incised or inscribed in somewhat of a large chevron block. But where the shop ended is uh, a hole in both sides of the wall, but also a difference in floor level because the kitchen side just has the flagstones and they have never been finished. Someone has poured plastic something or other goo between the stones. It's a horrible mess. But because and that is also the level that's in the cellier, that part of the cellier where you open the door and stand without falling in the sand pit. So I'm thinking that I probably need to dig quite a bit of the sand out and put it in the garden somewhere or do something with it elsewhere, and then fill that space with there are several different kinds of gravel that you can buy and have delivered in cubic bags, uh, cubic meter bags that have, when you put it in, it packs down so that you can sort of like make a floor. And I have a pounder to pound it flat, but so that I can, and I would make what I would like to do is to fill it with gravel, pound it down, make it level with the flagstones that come out of the kitchen, and then have the entire dining room, kitchen, cellier leveled and have tomettes put down. That would be my absolute dream. Oh, I would love to have a tomette floor and an even floor all the way through the ground floor. Now, the séjour next to it has the same flagstones underneath, but someone has installed a beautiful, not fancy parquet Paris style herringbone, but plain strips about this wide, beautiful oak floor with a border around it, one width of a border, and that just needs to be either sanded or finished with Osmo or some sort of varnish, or just scrubbed with some sort of floor cleaner and then waxed. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but there's many different ways it could be approached. But I would love to have level floors. I don't have level floors. And because there was a wall separating the two rooms down here, when they removed the walls, there were holes underneath where things had been stuck into the floor to hold the walls up. So there's strange holes all over the place. So it's not really safe and it's ugly as a mud fence, but eventually that will happen. Massif Central has gorgeous landscapes and is only slightly more densely populated than Idaho. Heck yeah! Only the Creuse is where I live. This department is the second least populated department in France. It's very rural. Uh, it is absolutely gorgeous. Lots of cows, white ones, and the Charlet, lots of Normandy spotted ones, and some limousine, which are brownish red. I love looking at them driving to the store. They are absolutely gorgeous. I love them. Some goats, some sheep. Once in a while, a horse. A lot of French households, especially in the southern areas, use electrical heaters for convenience. Yes, but let me tell you, the weather in the France at the south is absolutely totally different than it is here where I'm at. Um, to my mind, it's here in the cruise because you have weather coming up from the Mediterranean, in from the west, in from the west, from the Atlantic, and down from the north. Uh, it, and because Cruz, where I live in Cluniet, is basically smack dab right in the middle of the country, I mean, the weather is just like this all the time. It changes almost every 3 days, like living on Adak Island in the middle of the Aleutians was. you would have 2 days of cracky weather, and then you would have this gorgeous, wonderful day. You never could plan for it. Uh, you were guaranteed to have 9 beautiful days a year, but you never got them all in a row. You had no idea when they were coming, and it's kind of like that here. There's a lot of gray days. When the sun does shine, it's absolutely brilliant blue. Um, Not quite as brilliant as being out in the desert in Idaho, but ab blue enough, absolutely gorgeous. But the weather changes a lot. It just changes like to me, it's like living on the coast, but that's a good thing too. Except last summer when it was so hot for so long and everything was dying, that was not good, and it was warm. Stephanie from Chateau Diaries uses hot water bottles inside her sweaters. I use this size of jar, which I think has like 350 grams of jam when it comes, and I put boiling water in that, and I have 1 in each pocket, and I have 3 at my feet if I'm in bed, or, I hope to have, a meridian or a chaise longue kind of thing where I can sit and put my legs out in front. Then I would have a couple of them at the bottoms of my feet. But with a lap quilt over the top of that, you're warm for 3 or 4 or 5 hours at a time. You don't need to have, uh, what do they call it? Uh, Regular heat where the whole house is warm. France and the housing is not built that way. It may be if you build a house from the ground up with a new construction, but the old houses, it's almost impossible to heat them the way we in America think about being warm. Uh, that kind of warm is actually not healthy for you. It dries out your nose and your eyes and anyway, so no, I don't have that problem here, but and it isn't that difficult to get warm, but hot water bottles are the bee's knees. And somebody actually sent me a gorgeous metallic hot water bottle that I could put down at the bottom of my feet. And I have used it a couple of times when it was just, oh, really cold. But yes, hot water bottles are absolutely wonderful. Carolyn, I am a lady your age and had issues with arthritis due to my weight. I switched to a keto diet, lots of sardines and seafood, and made bread carbs a very rare thing, much less pain. I have tried the carb. The thing about me and my weight is I have lipedema. Lipedema is not ameliorated in any way by diet. If you haven't gotten fat before the lipedema strikes, you don't have as much problems. But uh, I was always more on the heavy side, even when I was a child. And I always bruised easily. And I remember my mom talking once, well, I don't understand. You're always covered with bruises. Well, that's one of the signs of lipedema. So from the time I was a child, I had this condition and didn't know it. Nobody knew about it. They didn't even discover that it was a condition until like 49, and that's when I was born. So most doctors, even today, don't know about it. Most women don't know about it, and yet 11% plus of women in the world suffer with it. More so in Germany, hardly at all in Asia. And the diet doesn't fix it. So if you weren't heavy before the lipedema begins to give you a problem, meaning you have a baby or you have a hysterectomy or you go through menopause or something that has something to do with hormones, hormones trigger lipedema getting bad. And once it starts, it's almost impossible to deal with except with a surgeon's knife and liposuction. I refuse to do that. I hate knives. I hate needles and I hate going under. The last time I went under anesthesia, I almost died. I mean, I was having a gallbladder surgery, and all of a sudden, my subconscious said to me, "I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're gonna die. You're dying. I've tried everything and I can't get you to breathe. You're gonna die." And remember thinking to myself, "Well, at least this time it doesn't hurt." And about that time, the anesthetist screamed at me to open my eyes. And I managed to get him open, and he was like this far away from me, and he says, "You're gonna be okay." And I relaxed, and they got the tube down my throat so that they could do, intubation so they could give me oxygen during the surgery. I mean, my whole body had frozen up once they gave me the anesthesia. My entire body froze. They couldn't get the tube in my mouth without breaking my teeth in my jaw, and I mean, I don't wanna do it. So anyway, I'm not going there. But, uh, because of the cancer surgery that I had in 2000 with, radical hysterectomy, and they severed the lymph glands in my groin. Why they did that, I have no clue. So I have lymphedema on top of lipedema. So not only is it painful, not only do I swell, not only is it difficult to be mobile, it takes me a heck of a long time to get much of anything done. So diet really doesn't matter. I've always not for me, it doesn't. I don't eat a lot of carbs. Uh, I do eat some grain and some beans, and but I don't eat meat anymore because I'm vegetarian now, lacto-ovo vegetarian. So getting what the keto or carnivore or whatever type of diet would do for me as far as how much protein I can get, it's not going to work for me. But it does work for some people. And so if that worked for you, I'm glad. But it didn't work for me. Um, I will be in France, Le Havre. Okay, that's a long ways for me in December. But it should be beautiful. It's gorgeous up there. Purchasing a place in Cluniet? You're going to buy in Cluniet? Which house are you looking at, Yvette? Um, I have been around France a little bit, and let me tell you, where I live, smack dab in the middle here in Cluniet, it is insanely beautiful and peaceful. I left America because I don't remember if I've told you this or I may have told all of you this before, but one day I was zipping along the road. I knew exactly where I was going, and I went zipping across the intersection and way down the road and turned the corner and went down the road another ways, miles, assuming I was going to get to my medical appointment, and I was lost. And everywhere, I mean, I pulled over and I just took a deep breath and I looked. I'd lived in this valley for 60 years, guys, and I was lost. And I looked and there was nothing but housing developments and strip malls. And I realized where I was and I went, there are way too many people here. I don't like this. I don't like this. And so I decided I'm going somewhere where it's peaceful and calm and there's not many people. And when I drove down into Burgundy several months ago to pick up that particular buffet with the marble top, that was back when all the horrible flooding was going on in France. Driving on the freeway in all the traffic, I'm sorry, but I like where I live. I can drive 8 miles or 8 kilometers to the grocery store in Boussac, and sometimes I am the only car on the road coming and going. Doesn't matter what time of the day. I love it. I like peacefulness. I like animals. I like openness. And where I'm at is if that's what you like, you won't find it any better than here. Um, I don't adapt to metric, except I do have a scale that I can tar out and use in grams or ounces. And I most of my recipes and my frame of reference and all of the things that I have grown, I mean, I'm 77. Most of the things that I've done are cups and tablespoons and teaspoons and ounces, quarts. Um, some of the recipes in France are done in parts, and so it doesn't matter what your part is. It can be a cup, it can be a liter, it can be a centiliter, doesn't matter. Um, as long as you keep the proportions and the ratio's the same, I don't have a problem with that. I was for a long time had my phone set to centigrade in the weather app, and time I had it the 24-hour thing, and I just forgot that. I don't have time to continually think about it because if it's in centigrade or if it's in uh, hours, 24 hours, I stop midstream and put it back into what I'm used to, 2 12-hour slots. So I just do it the American way. Thank goodness the French drive on the American side of the road. I do use leg wrapping. It's very expensive. When the therapist comes, it's very expensive. And before I left America, I bought some full leg wrap things that I could put on myself, and I do use them most of the time. If I have to do a lot of bending or stooping, I take them off because I can't move. Will I collect rainwater for my garden for the hot summer times? I do have a hose hookup. There is a wonderful zinc downspout that comes off of the roof at the corner of the workshop where it ends in the corner of the garden. And I would like to have someone hook a rain chain to that and put they have great big huge like cubic centimeters, no centimeter, cubic meter wide, deep, so about 3.5 feet by 3.5 feet by 3.5 feet plastic cubes surrounded by a metal framework that I would hook the rain chain into, and that would fill. And then where the downspout has been dripping for years, there's a hole in the ground. I had thought of turning the sitz bathtub that's in the backyard, dumping the water out of it, rolling it over, digging a hole, and putting it down so that the overfill from the rain barrel apparatus would flow into that, and I could have a um, water lily, which is a medicinal plant, by the way, is not only edible but medicinal. I would have a water lily in there. I would have a couple of runner ducks. I think I would prefer to have runner ducks. And I, the runner ducks would not be as detrimental to my garden as chickens would be at this point. And runner ducks like slugs, and the cruise has got slugs. So those are the plans for the gardens for right now. Yes, I want to have a rain barrel of some sort. We are in 2026 celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Are you aware that the birthplace, Chavignac, of the Marquis de Lafayette is not far away from where I thank you. I am glad to know that. He is one of my cultural heroes, having been a French colonial reenactor. His What he did when he defied his king, because the king specifically told him not to, and he said and went out and did it anyway. We would not be Americans had he not helped us when he helped us. He was amazing, but he went against everybody and everything to do it to help us, and he is amazing. I'm glad to know that he lived close. I will go look. With feather mattress and feather duvets, I slept in my unheated attic bedroom in the Massachusetts Berkshire for years. Yes, I had a sweet friend send me a beautiful eiderdown quilt when I lived in Alaska, and I brought that and 4 um, My Pillow pillows, and I put them in one of those Ziploc vacuum bags that it smushes everything together, and I had all of that in one suitcase. If the customs people had done anything to break that seal, oh my goodness, they would have had trouble trying to get that back together. Anyway, so I managed to bring my pillows and my, eiderdown duvet with me, and that is absolutely the warmest, most wonderful thing, but it needs to be laundered, and so I need to find either a big enough machine to wash it and dry it myself, or send it out to the Chinese laundry or whatever is available to have that cleaned. But yes, there's nothing like a feather duvet. Celsius, dear. No, 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 no. That's only if you grew up on this side of the pond or in Canada. There is public transport. There are great big buses, like a big Greyhound, that go by, I'm not going to say on the hour, but around between 6 and 8 and noonish. And I know one of the college kids gets off one at 7:02 in the evening. So yeah, there's big buses, and then there's little buses that in the States were like handicap buses that would hold 25 people and or 15 people in wheelchairs, that size bus. There's a bunch of those that come and go, and those are the one of those is hired to be the school bus to take the, middle school kids and high school kids off to wherever it is they go around here somewhere. So yes, there is, public transport. There's also a lot of taxis. I haven't used either, but I know they're available. Okay, so Rebecca from Canadian Prairie, hello from Ohio. I have a wonderful did you I put a blog post up on, I've messed with my just a second, let me where's my chat? Oh, I've lost my chat. Uh, anyway, what was I saying? I can't find my chat. Maybe I'll find it. Restore chat. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Um, okay. Uh, there is a post about or maybe I did it on Facebook. I'll make sure I post it uh, when I get done. I wrote a piece that talks about when I lived in southern Illinois, which was called Little Egypt back in the early 2000s. Um, and being a colonial reenactor, French wise, I was into reading the French officers' dispatches that they had sent back to France. And some of the reenactors had acquired uh, manuscript rights and had gone to get higher degrees in French colonial whatevers. And so they had been reading the officers' um, letters home. In the letters home, they talk about how they couldn't believe the Pays Illinois, the Illinois country, which is basically Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois. I mean, the breadbasket of the Midwest. They talked about how you didn't even have to till the ground. You could just lay the seed on top and it would grow. And the yield was insane, considering that people in Europe, in France, you might in a good year, get 3 seeds back for every one you planted. Now, let me tell you, any farmer worth his salt is going to freak out over those numbers. In America, we get bushels back for every seed we plant. The French were gobsmacked. They could not believe that poor people ate better, well, maybe not better, but had more food quantity to eat for basically Zippo compared to the fact in France, even if you had money, if you were aristocracy, if you were whatever, you didn't matter if you had money, there was no food to buy, not enough food to buy. And so that scarcity uh, contributed to the fact that the French had lots and lots and lots of little tiny plates to eat on with a spoon was a service of a portion compared to, a 20-ounce porterhouse steak and a baked potato with sour cream and chives and maybe bacon crumbles and a huge salad with blue cheese dressing and I don't know what all else. They never had that much food to eat. Never, never, never. They couldn't believe it. Pierre Kalm from Sweden, who was sent over here, one of Linnaeus's students, to see what kind of things grew in America that could be taken back to Sweden to produce more food for Sweden. And he was amazed too. He talked in his book about how the Canadians and the Americans had food it was coming out of their ears, and they hardly had to work hard to get it. It wasn't like hard scrabble in Europe where the ground had been worked for millennia. America was not like that. And so as a result, the culture of uh, the culture of the people in Europe and the culture of the people who made it to America and actually got to live on that land and grow up culturally and generationally in America. Our American attitude toward food is totally different than the attitude in Europe and other countries. And it's because America produced so bountifully compared to what was available, regardless of funds and money in Europe. Anyway, I wrote, I could go on and on and on. Let's see. The name of my village is Cluniac. It went through many iterations. Cluniac, Cluniaca, Clunius. I mean, and the village was named originally for a Roman who actually came here after the Battle of Alesia in 52 BC, I believe, when the Battle of the Gallic Wars with Julius Caesar. And 10,000 fighting men from this area, from Limovici, from the town of Limoges, the city of Limoges is named for them. 10,000 men from this area went to fight and never returned. Can you imagine what 10,000 fighting age men would do? Fathers, husbands, brothers, sweethearts, gone, never to return. Yeah, had no idea what happened to them, whether they died. Roman soldiers who fought in that battle were given 1 slave per man, and they took them back to wherever they were from. I mean, it was horrible. There's very interesting history in this area. I'm noticing the plates on the wall behind you. Yes. Those 2 plates, one is the one on your, anyway, the one on that side is an artichoke plate. It's round. It has a kind of like a chip dip plate where you would put your dip in the little oval, and then you would have all the leaves of your asparagus, or not asparagus, artichoke pulled off, and you would dip it in the sauce and clean it off between your teeth and set it aside. Anyway, there's an artichoke plate, there's just a pretty plate, and then I received some absolutely gorgeous plates from eBay, and I'll show you. This is an asparagus plate to serve asparagus on. And then I have two plates that will be hung on the wall, like the ones behind me above the chairs. And those will go on the wall. So, and there's a video coming out about me being in hog heaven because I fell in love with plates in France. So that's coming, because, and that ties back to the post I did about all the many little plates and the small portions in France. So there's a lot of stuff that I've been working on that just it takes a while to get it there. I finally broke down and started using a twin heated blanket this past winter. I don't have to heat the bedroom nearly as much. Yes, again, electricity is very expensive in France, and so I don't have an electric blanket. I haven't even seen one for sale. But I haven't looked for one either. I found a house in Jari, Mensch for 18.5. I would like to buy. Sounds like a good deal. Um, I'm not sure where that's at, but my advice would be to make certain that it's hooked up to the mains, meaning sewer has been attached to your house. Your bathroom may need to be redone, but if the mains service is to your house, that's a great thing. If you live in the country, you're going to have a fosse septique, which is a new septic tank. It'll have to be brought up to snuff. But yes, that's a good price. There, if you know how to be handy and do work for yourself by yourself, or you have the money over and above your purchase price to fix what you'd like to fix, you'll be able to find all of the material, all of the furniture, all of the houseware, all of the everything except toilet paper that you want. You'll be able to find it. Most of it you can find at a brocante or at a secondhand store or at a flea market or uh, at the weekly market. You'll have vendors set up with stuff. Um, you can, you will have so much fun fixing the place up. I haven't returned to the States and I have no desire to do so. Uh, One concern that I would have going back would be I did not get the COVID shots when COVID shots were going around. I didn't get it, any of them. I didn't get COVID, and I don't know whether not having that shot would cause a problem coming or going. I don't know, but I don't want to take the chance. But I don't have the funds to return to America, so I would not go back for a visit. If my kids want to come here, my oldest daughter and her two kids may come in May of next year. That would be that would be fine. But I'm not I'm not interested in going back. Manche is north of Rennes. I believe Rennes is up by Burgundy, or not Burgundy, Normandy and Brittany, I think, isn't it? But that price, you can't shake a stick at that. Um, in America, another reason that I decided to leave was I came into a little bit of money, and I do mean a little bit, less than 100,000. So even to buy a used trailer in a trailer park would have been about 50,000 US dollars. there would have been $1,000 a month lot rent on top of that, plus utilities every month. So when you consider $12,000 for a year's worth of rent plus utilities, and I bought this house for 23,000 euros, I made out like a bandit as far as I'm concerned. I laughed all the way to the bank. COVID is no longer a problem. I'm glad to hear that, but they had all kinds of strange laws, rules, and regs that went along with that that may still be on the books. Not required to return to the States. Well, that's good to know. That has been that's been one of my concerns. I didn't even want to think about it. Okay, any more questions? It's almost 7. You guys, I absolutely love living here. The people are wonderful. The weather is doable. Uh, People leave you alone. They only, if you say hi, make sure when you come that you say bonjour to everybody. Initiate it first. Um, just say hi, bonjour. You go in a supermarket and you catch somebody's eye, you say bonjour. Um, if someone looks at you across the street and you make eye contact, you say bonjour. It's just what you do. As long as you're polite and you're not doing anything illegal and you're not hurting anybody, you'll be happy here. It just works. Um, when you're content and happy where you are, you don't need to go back and visit. That's right. And again, my kids are all grown. I have grandkids and great grandkids. If they want to make the effort to come, I've got a room I can put them up in. There are beautiful places I can take them to see about France, but they have their own life. And me being in the States, being the great grandma and the grandma and seeing everybody once a month or whatever is not necessary for their life. It'd be great. I would love to be able to dandle my great grandbabies on my lap. I have a new one coming in days, basically. So, and I have 7 grandchildren, 6 boys and a girl. I have a bunch of grandkids, and I miss them. Yes, I do. But I'm really not necessary for their life to continue. So, anyway, I'm happy. And besides, how many kids can say their grandma became a reverse pioneer and moved to France all on her own when everybody thought she was nuts? How many kids get to say that? My kids get to. It takes about 200 to $250, maybe 300 because I have 2 chimneys that would have to be done um, to get that, and then to get a steer of wood or a cord of wood, or to get wood, it is anywhere between 3 and 600 euros, depending upon what amount you buy. That is definitely on the to-do list for this coming fall, and the first thing will be a chimney sweep. But it really isn't that bad. I have never seen my breath in this house, even on the coldest, longest cold week. Never saw my breath. So it isn't that bad in here, even without what we would consider, what an American would consider required heat. So I'm fine. No, I don't live in Paris. I wouldn't live in Paris for all the tea in China. No, I don't live in Paris. I live smack dab in the middle of France in the second least populated department, which means like a state in France, and it's very rural. Well, listen, guys, I'm going to call a halt to this. It's 6:59, so it's fixing on being 7 o'clock. I have so enjoyed this, and there will be some videos coming. I've been working on them, and I would miss my grandkids to death if I didn't see them all the time. Yes, but you get over it. And you do, there's Facebook, there's FaceTime on the phone, there's WhatsApp, there's the mail, there's FedEx and UPS. I mean, you can send them things, they can send you things, you can, talk to each other. Um, it's it's okay. It's not that bad. Oh, sorry, I meant cruise. Yes, I live in Cruise. Creuse. Thank you guys. I love you. And we'll do this. How about a live at least once a month on the second Sunday? Does that sound good? And I'm going to get better at lives, believe me. There's things to do. Ah, they have your phone number. Yes, they have my phone number. All right, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.